Hello everyone, welcome to the show. This clip is taken from our 5 things Arne Slot needs to fix. Full deep dive available on redmenplus.com. Go over there, check it out, sign up, get the full show. But in the meantime, enjoy the clip. So we'll move on to our third topic of the show, the substitutes.
Becoming a bit of a meme, innit?
It's mad, mate, to be honest with you. I did a little bit of the research on it and I got bored. I won't lie. But at Forest, the first sub was at 2-0 down. We bring on Ekitike for Konate, Robertson for Kerkez, Chiesa for Isak, Rio and Gamoa for Curtis Jones. You can't show this, Joe, because I didn't complete it. But at City, our first sub's at 2-0 down. It's Kerkez for Robertson, Gakpo for Ekitike, Jones for McAllister, Gomez for Bradley, Chiesa for Wirtz. First sub at 2-0 down was against Palace in the Cup as well. First sub was at 3-1 down against Brentford. Robbo for Kerkez, Chiesa, Gakpo, McAllister, Bradley, and Gamoa, Jones, Gomez, Wirtz. It just feels a little bit like plan A's not working. It's continued to not work. We're going to plan throw the kitchen fucking sink at it. And that's got worse as well.
Yeah.
It's progressively got worse, that plan.
It's an interesting one, this. I've said a few times now that I generally like a gambler when it comes to this sort of thing. I like, if you're getting beat, especially at home, turn the risk up dramatically and start going for it. And very Ferguson very Man United under Ferguson a few years back, where it was kind of inevitable, really, because they were just would not settle for a draw, they would go for it and that. So I don't mind it as much as some of the people. I think throwing more attackers on as well does make sense when you want a goal. And I don't think it's as scattergun as people suggest, where it's just you just patting Chiesa in the back going go on, just run everywhere. I think there's more to it than that. I think he's thinking into it a bit deeper than that. But there has been times where he's maybe done it a bit too quick. A few years back, Guardiola had a tendency, didn't he, in COVID times to leave the same team on for a full 90 minutes.
Full 90, yeah.
I think you can benefit from doing that sometimes, where you've got the patience, where you're looking at it and thinking, hang on a minute, this is working. Keep doing this, we'll be fine. The goals will come. But instead, it's borderline, there's an element of panic where he thinks as soon as 55 minutes, he's I need to get a striker on. So I'm a little bit torn. I can understand why people are against it. It did work for the most part last year. I want him to go for it. I want him to get creative with shapes. I want him to get more attackers on the pitch if we need the goal. But also just chill out a bit with it. Don't do it as much as you're doing it. Don't do it as early as you're doing it in some occasions. But I saw Chloe's clip where Chloe mentioned it as a joke, and I know it is a recurring thing now where people are a bit eye roll, oh fuck's sake, he's doing it again, and that fella who can't quite help himself and just starts throwing everyone on the pitch. But yeah, I'm a little bit of a between. What about you?
I think the biggest problem he's got is that he's got the cop and he's got the ground singing for the change. I think that shows you an erosion of trust in the manager.
What were they singing for?
They've been singing Chiesa's name on 50 every game. And every game Chiesa's pretty much come on. That's a fan base for me that aren't willing and don't maybe trust the manager in every scenario, because they're saying, you need to bring this lad on now.
Yeah.
Now it could be a bit of, he's gone, oh, fucking hell again. Yeah, they're probably right. And that might not be a good thing for him. It could be forcing it a little bit. And I said this 3-4 weeks ago that's a problem. I always think that's a problem if the fans are singing for changes from the manager, because it just shows that there's no trust there.
Yeah.
Or a lack of trust, certainly, maybe not no trust. So I think that's a problem for him.
I don't like that, for what it's worth. Not into that.
No, it happens. It happens to every club up and down the country, doesn't it?
Yeah,
but I get what you mean. I think the other issue that we've got at the moment, and again, to repeat myself, I said a few weeks ago, when plan A is not perfect, I think ripping it up and going to something new is fucking silly. And I've always said that. When you can't do plan A to the best of your ability and you're spending your small amount of training time probably on the system that you play in, and you're moaning about the training time, go into something that you may never play again with the players in those positions, which I think it's fair to say we've seen maybe 3, 4, 5 weeks on the bounce now. What did we play at the weekend that the manager said?
3-3-4 we ended up with.
Do you reckon we've changed that this week?
No.
No, right, okay, so great idea. But it's been a bit like that, hasn't it, during this run, where it's like, mate, you're not training this stuff. How are you expecting it to work? It's at that point, it's players that you're hoping for moments from, isn't it?
Yeah, and an example I'll give you though, in contrast to that, is yesterday I watched Man United against Everton.
Yeah.
Everton get a man sent off in the first half, and by the end of the game, Amarim still has the exact same system, albeit with a few more offensive players on, but he hasn't adapted at all to the scenario. Now, you could have argued Amarim would have benefited from going 3-3-4 like Slot did.
His 5 at the back was still there last night, wasn't it? It was mad to see on 80 or whatever.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying, like, Slot got it right the other day when he said, like, this sort of thing, you look like a genius when it works and you look like an idiot when it doesn't. There's an element of that in there. But you ultimately want the balance. You just give me sensible decisions. When it's the right opportunity to go for it, and crucially, there's logic behind the plan that you've come up with, sound, go for it. But don't just go nuts, blindly throwing on like anyone who might score a goal or something. You know, there's got to be some kind of thought process in there.
And I think that's right. And I'm just going to throw these at you. First sub at 2-0 down against Forest. First sub at 2-0 down against City. First sub at 2-0 down against Crystal Palace in the Cup. Brentford, first sub at 3-1 down. Like, with 2 goals behind before the first sub. So it doesn't sound like a manager to me, just based on the scoreline of the substitutions, who is reacting too quickly and it's almost too slow. But then I've reacted too slow, so I've got to put my foot down.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Not like, shit, 1-0 down. Could we have changed something? I feel like, do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
I know what you mean, yeah. I feel like a lot of them, though, offhand, I feel like a lot of them will be like, although there's 2 goals in a few of them, I wouldn't be surprised if he's made his sub shortly after conceding that second goal.
That's what I mean.
Do you get what I mean?
No, that's exactly what I mean. Because you're right. If he does that, I think it's an overreaction, because you're making 3 subs because you've gone 2-0 down. Maybe the time to make the change was slightly earlier. Maybe it's not 3 changes, maybe it's 1 change. But these are all things that he's got to work through, because last season, you said it before, last season he was the best in the league at it. And everything seemed to work. But it wasn't just reacting on 55 last season, was it? It was reacting on 45 in the first game of the season.
Yeah.
So is that confidence in himself gone a little bit, eroded, that he's not sure when to make the first sub now?
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's an element of panic in there, maybe, and I also think Liverpool have no interest in draws, which I'm in favour of. I think I think going for the win is valuable. I think it's worthwhile. But doing that so many weeks on the run, which is what we did do, and we won a few and then we started losing a few, it did just kind of spiral a bit to the extent where it has become a bit of a meme. And I actually think the players now, when you kind of see it happening, they're a bit like, because it hasn't been working, and it does look a little bit like you're just throwing stuff at the wall and hoping that it sticks.
Can we pull on the players thread? Sorry to interrupt.
Go on.
What do you think that can't be good for Slot?
What do you mean?
When the players are like,
oh yeah,
fucking hell.
100%, yeah. No, I think that's one of the most worrying things about this period. Even if, you know, Hughes and Edwards or me and you or whoever have like faith, not even faith, but just like, if you diagnose what's going wrong and you determine, right, this is not actually on Slot, this is on the balance of the squad, or this is on, Jota's tragedy or whatever you want to determine. What ultimately matters most is the belief of the players in the message that's coming from the manager and the system he's setting out, the blueprint. This is how we win the game. And the moment they start to kind of question, he doesn't know what he's doing here. That's when they kind of stop listening. So even then, if he's got a good blueprint, they don't really apply it because there's a lack of belief in it. I remember wrote in my book about, there was a quote from Gerard Houllier, I'll try and get it up in a sec, and he mentioned about like one of the most important things as a manager, especially early on, is convincing the players that you are like worth listening to. Slot obviously did that in his first year, but that's what people mean when they say lose the dressing room. If you get to a point where they stop believing that you're the guy.
Well, I thought it about Manchester United and Amorim. I thought they'd passed it, to be fair, and they've made a little bit of a step up. But if the fella keeps telling you 3 at the back's going to work, 3 at the back's going to work, and it's been a year and it's not working, you stop listening at some point, don't you? And you think, well, you're fucking wrong.
Yeah. And I think players as well are not. A lot of them are not particularly analytical, I would assume. So I think they would just look at it as black and white as that is, as in 3 at the back is not working, we are not winning games, it's a problem, and they'll believe the media and all that, rather than like using their own minds or thinking a bit deeper and thinking, well, it's because of this. I think if you're a player, you are just living in it, and you're just like, this isn't working, and you feel a bit more. And
I bet someone like Virgil van Dijk might be feeling that now as the captain, who, you know, I think Konate had that sort of, I didn't actually see it, but I've been told he sort of had a smile on his face, like when he was coming off, a bit like, so it was described to me as a bit like, oh, here we go again, we're putting a centre forward on and whatever. And then who does Virgil end up playing with at Nottingham Forest? Oh, it was Gravenberch was moved back into there, wasn't he? And then Virgil must be like, oh, great, okay, here we go again. Are we going to concede another goal here? Because it feels like that sort of overreaction that's led to goals being conceded against us. You know, we concede late against Manchester United, we concede late against Brentford. We've probably got too many attackers on the pitch in those games.
Yeah. Like you referenced that game against Ipswich before, Slot's first game. I think that worked wonders for Slot when it comes to his players and things like that, because that was a game where first half, very, very even. Ipswich were really good.
Yeah.
They kind of had our number really tactically. And Slot goes in at half time and goes, right, all you need to do is that, boys. Don't worry about it. Go and do that. You've changed the build-up structure ever so slightly. And second half, Liverpool are a different side. Ipswich can't get anywhere near as much joy. I think Liverpool scored 3. And that's like, you come away from that thinking, he knows what he's doing. And anything he tells me to do, I'll just do it and it'll work. But this season, more and more, it does feel a bit like everything he's trying is arguably making things worse for the most part. And you kind of wonder, like, from a player's perspective, you know, once you hit that tipping point, it's going to be difficult for them to get back on board with, like, oh yeah, he doesn't know what he's doing actually. Once you kind of go one way, it's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Paul mentioned this on the podcast yesterday, actually. It was in Ian Graham's book, wasn't it, about Jurgen's last season at Dortmund and everything else, how Ian could see that it was working. I don't think the manager's really got the data at the moment to be able to say to the players, what we're doing is working.
That's because there isn't, though.
Exactly.
That's because there isn't. They're not unlucky. Liverpool are not unlucky this season. They're flipping coins every week. Sometimes you'll hit heads, sometimes you'll hit tails. But honestly, this is why when people talk about like duels and body language and they looked dead tired and all that stuff, all of it stems from, do you feel good on the pitch, first and foremost? And whether you feel good on the pitch will be determined by, is this working? As in, like, have we got a strategic edge over the opposition here? Are we playing better than them because they can't handle this, they can't handle that, whatever. And if it does feel like for most of the season, Liverpool haven't really had any kind of advantage over the team that they've been facing, and you probably do naturally lose faith in the manager when that happens. Like,
so what does Slot need to do for the players to change that, if it's the case?
I don't think there's much that he can do. Personally, my take on it all is that I think the headline problem is the recruitment, as in the incomings. And I think to get back to normal, you need to fix the squad. So I would give him Semenyo in January. I would give him Gay in January. You still might have problems at fullback, but it will balance the squad out a little bit, make it a little bit easier. And in terms of what he can do in the meantime, I hate using the term go back to basics, but I probably would, in the sense that, like, I would play Robbo as much as I can. I would play Bradley as much as I can. Obviously Alisson's back. I would keep Sobbo in the 10. I think that's important. I would keep Ekitike in the team for the Premier League, and I would get Itak up to speed in the other competitions. And I would largely focus on getting back to what you had last season. And then in January, hopefully you get some additions where you can start evolving towards whatever you plan to evolve towards. But in the meantime, I don't think it's going to be that pretty.
That was a clip from the deep dive. To check out the whole show, head to redmenplus.com or click the link in the description.